Racing for me came about. I'd already been playing around and having some fun with go-karts and a few friends. At one stage, myself and a couple of friends all had karts, and we'd actually go to the local kart track at Sunshine, and it's a rental kart sort of place. It's an outdoor track. It's quite a good track. But they would, in between sessions, while they were briefing the next session, they would give us that time on the track. So we sort of went there and we'd have 15 minutes every other half hour sort of thing to punt around, and then they'd flag us in. We had our own little pits on the other side of the track, and so we'd drive around there all day, have a lot of fun doing that. And never did any actual, big racing, go-kart racing events at Todd Road or any of those big clubs. I did do some testing and practice at Todd Road, which was quite enjoyable, such a great track. But then I had an opportunity. I went to my, what do you call it, the 10-year reunion for school. So they had it 10 years after you finish year 12, you get together. And it was really weird. I sort of didn't really want to go because, I didn't do year 12. I only finished at year 11 and already went off and got a job. So it was a bit weird. I didn't do year 12, but I still, they all asked me to turn up and go. But also you turn up and you're like, oh, you've got to tell everyone about what job you're doing. And at that stage I was working in the bank, and I was quite successful doing that, but it wasn't an exciting job to talk about. You're not going to walk in with your chest out going, hey, I work in the bank, So it was a bit unusual, but I saw one of my friends there from school who, back in the days of school, on his school books, he used to have pictures of Porsches and BMW M3s and these sort of road cars that were at the time, quite exotic, probably still are quite exotic. Whereas on my school books, I had either skateboarding pictures or hot rods and dragsters and things like that. And I never understood the cars he had on there. I'm like, they're just road cars. Why would you bother with those? But then now, at the point when I'm at this 10-year reunion, my favourite car is an M3. I love Porsches, and I remembered that he's in IT and probably has a bit of coin, so he might even be driving a Porsche now. So I popped on over and, hey, Jamie, what are you driving these days, And it wasn't the first question I asked. I did break the ice a bit before getting to that. And then, what are you driving? And he told me he's driving this old Commodore. And I kind of went, oh, okay. And he sort of realised that I was thinking he was going to have something better. And he goes, I use it to tow my race car. And I was like, boing. I get it. Cool. So he goes, yeah, come on over. We're going to, getting ready for the race event coming up. So come on over to the garage on Saturday and have a look. And so I went over and I looked at the car, the race car, and I'm like, oh, you've got a, dry sump, you've got this, you got that. I knew what I was looking at. And he was like, oh, you actually understand cars. And I go, yeah, I love it. I've been tinkering with him and playing with him forever. And he goes, all right, well, we're racing next weekend, so come to the track and help us out. So I did that, went to the track, helped him out. And that went on for about 6 months, just working with him and building things on the car and pulling things off and replacing things. And then at the time he was in IT at Ansett. Ansett went bust, for those who are old enough to remember. There was an airline that went bust. And he needed to get another job, and he was lucky enough to get a job in motorsport. He went and worked at Glen Seaton Racing, which has morphed into Tickford Racing, the current form of it. And when he went there, he was going to be away for half of the race weekends that he was in the state series. He was going to be away with the supercars, so he couldn't do it. And he said to me, would you like to race the car while I'm away, so the car still gets to drive? And I'm like, of course. So I was lucky enough then to have his support and be able to race his car. And I got a chance to race in probably 3 events, I think it was, that year. And he raced the other 3 or thereabouts. So the car was in the series for the whole year. And that was my opportunity to get involved in motorsport. And that was a Ford Escort with a 2-litre naturally aspirated engine. It was a very fast car, actually, and I wish I had known what I know now in terms of driving and that sort of stuff. I would have been able to really get some good results in that car, because it was light but powerful and handled very well. There was a lot of reliability problems with it because it was pretty much hand-built by us, and it was a very fickle car. So every time you took it on track, every time you come back in, you would have to tighten every bolt and replace all these bits and go back out and do it again. And I remember one time getting down to turn 1 at Sandown, downshifting the 3rd gear. And as I'm sort of downshifting, all of a sudden I'm like, why is the gear shift still in my hand? And I'm going through the corner without any gears because the gear shifter is in my hand. And, you know, all of a sudden that's it, race done. The worst part about that was we could fix that shifter, and we did, but we got pulled off from the safety team off the track, and they pulled off on the tow hook. But the front splitter, splitter was really quite low, and they pulled us over a curb and up this driveway, and the whole thing just folded and bent. And so then the next thing you know, I've got the whole front of the car was all smashed up for something that wasn't even a crash. It was just a, you know, mechanical problem. So it was a pretty fickle car, but very enjoyable car. And Jamie went on to campaign that one a couple of years later to the state championship in the 2-litre sports sedans. So that was good. He was always very competitive in that and right at the front end of that grid. So that was quite enjoyable. And it was a really good entry to motorsport in terms of big cars rather than go-karts. And it was a really fun time to be involved.